So I went to Disneyland yesterday with my friends, and it was really, really fun. A lot of them got the day off yesterday for Juneteenth, so we just went to Disneyland, hung out, and if you don't know anything about me, like I used to be one of those big like Disney adults, so Disney was like a big part of my life for a few years, but then it's kind of died down. Disney's gotten expensive, but it's still really fun for me. So now I'm not like a Disney adult; I'm more of like a casual fan now, as you would say. But it was really fun. We got to go to like the different rides. We got to get drinks, and my friend gets us into Disneyland for free. So it's cool when you don't need to really maximize Disneyland. It's like you can just go on a ride if you want to. You can walk around, you can grab a drink, eat the food, just marinate in the vibe. But what I really like about Disneyland is it feels like an adult. It feels like an adult playground for me, in the sense of like I could be there and I can almost be a kid again. And when I step onto the parks, like I don't have to worry about work. I don't have to worry about any stresses. I'm just focused on having fun for myself. And it brought out like a really good lesson that I share with some of my with the community today. And it's all around how do we create a community where students can really experience the magic of music, right? And this kind of stems back to the problem that I've always talked about, and it's the problem of like what the experience I had in music lessons. I feel like it felt like a chore. You know, I don't know if you've been through this same experience, but you know, like as a kid, you go through these lessons where you're forced to practice, and I didn't know why I needed to practice. It didn't feel fun for me when I was nagged that I wasn't practicing. It wasn't fun for me when I was playing songs I didn't even know, right? And I felt like the entire experience, my piano experience growing up, could have been a lot better. And luckily, it led me back to where I am now, which is like I love music, but now as I am producing music and I'm being a musician myself again, I truly understand the value of music and what it means to create and what it means to share. But I'm right now, I'm really fighting a lot of those foundations. Like I get stuck on writing songs, or I get stuck on my consistency to show up and practice because of those my past experiences really stopping me. And the thought is like, you know, as teachers now, as a music teacher, and like with you all running your own music schools, like how can we prevent that from happening to our students as well? How can we get more dream students to stay, pay, and refer other people to us as well? I feel like the big problem that a lot of us go through is that we have a lot of students, but how often are those students feeling like they're in a true community? How often are our students able to see other students and feel like there are other people in the same journey as us, right? Some of us may have a lot of that. Some of us may have none of that. Some of us may have like somewhere in between, right? It's really based on what you see in your music school. But with the pursuit of getting more students to stay, pay, and refer, I really feel like it's not just about how great of a teacher you are. It's not just about how good your lessons are, but it's really about the experience and how you can be able to give your students this experience that they can dive into, that they can immerse themselves into. Because I feel like when I'm truly learning through experience and learning through hands-on things, not just by diving headfirst into it, but surrounding myself with the right people. That's why I really love my experience with music school. I think I've talked about this in my last video, but like the experience of music school is really great because like it was a place where I could be really gung-ho and hang out with people who are on the same journey as me as well. And when it did get really tough, that was what motivated me to keep going, because I knew I wasn't alone in this journey. There's other people going through that with me. And with this whole experience, right, what this whole video here is, I want you to ask yourself, like, how do you feel about your music school experience that you are providing. Like, put yourself in the student's perspective. How would you rate your experience? How would you grade your experience that they are having right now? How likely are they to want to pay your high rates? How likely are they to want to stay for years and years? How likely are they to bring in their other friends into your community as well? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves to make sure that, like, if we really want to create a six-figure studio, like, that's what it takes. It requires you to be that leader that can foster this community as well. So the reason why I brought in the Disneyland story is, like, I feel like the reason why Disneyland is so successful, there's obviously a lot of reasons, but it's the experience, right? When you step into the park, it's like this magic veil that, like, if you take out all this, like, adult conditioning and you just pretend you're a child again, like, remember the first time that, if you've been there, like, remember the first time that you've, like, stepped into the park. It was like this magical place, and that's what they create it to be, and that's what they advertise it to be. But I really like it. I really like that. People have their controversies around Disney, and it's like, whatever you think about Disney, whatever they're doing, it's obviously working, right? And what we could take away from what's working for them is that they're not just creating a great theme park with cool rides and cool food and stuff like that. Like, anybody could be able to replicate that. But when you have the right branding in place and when you create the right experience as well, it really changes things, right? People refer other people. People are like, you have to go to Disneyland, right? Even though how expensive it is now, like, it's so expensive now, but people are still going to Disneyland because of the experience. You can't replicate that. So how can we do the same with our music schools as well? How can we create an experience that other competitors can't replicate? How can we create an experience where students want to stay there for years? Students see you as their long-term mentor. That's the things that I'm really focusing on now with, like, teaching that to my clients, but also for my own community as well. I'm thinking about ways, how do I bring in more guest speakers so that I can create a better experience? How can I create more opportunities for my clients to be able to collaborate with each other as well? Because that's the power in, like, a community itself. It's not just, like, you know, it's not just working with the teacher when you're in a music school, but you're working with the other students. You're working with multiple teachers. You're working with other experts. And when you bring in the right people where power meets power, and you bring in the right students who are motivated will work together really well. If you have students that are not motivated, you're just accepting anyone and everyone to come into your music school community who may or may not be the right fit, then how is the interactions going to be with that, right? Some of you may have like have had thoughts of creating that community, but maybe you have those one or two parents, those one or two students that are kind of like bad apples. Like, they wouldn't really vibe with other people, but we're still keeping them because we need the money, right? But the key here is that the moment we enforce our boundaries and our standards, and we don't just put the money first, but we put the right fit first, we go into it with, who can I serve best? Who is best served by me? The money will come in as well. The money will come in as a result. So yeah, just wanted to bring that out, kind of like create a discussion on how are you creating a great experience for your music school? What are some things that you can add in to create a great experience for your students? That's the question of the day. So make your music school the Disneyland of music schools, and you will find that the right students will come in and not only stay, pay, but also refer other friends as well. Last thing is that one thing I share with my clients is that, like, you know, it's not a bad thing if you have private lessons, but having private lessons and not having the students interact with each other, that's a problem. So if you're just offering private lessons, still think, how can I incorporate this community element into my music school so that students know that they're not alone in this process, that students know there's other ways to be able to get support and collaborate with other students as well. That's the key. So how do you make your music school the Disneyland of music schools? You got to figure that out for yourself.